One day, he's coming. Oh, glorious day. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. If you haven't been with us for 6 months, then you may not know where we're headed. But if you have been, then you know where we're headed. We're headed to Easter, April the 5th, 4 weeks away. It's coming on us fast. Matthew's moving along. We're getting nearer to that day. We've got to hit Matthew 28 on April the 25th, on the day of Easter, and the glorious resurrection. And one day, he's coming. Oh, glorious day. This week, we're in Matthew chapter 24. A lot of stuff going on. Several thoughts on the last days. Lots and lots of thoughts on the last days. He's going to use the word end, teleos. He doesn't use eschaton here. He uses arriving at its desired location. Soon teleos, he's going to use arriving at a day of consummation together. That's going to be in our text today. This generation is going to be mentioned. This generation. Is it the generation of Pentecost, the generation of the destruction of Jerusalem, or the generation of the last day? You'll have to decide as Matthew 24 unfolds. You'll have to make some decisions. Massive doctrines have been built about this chapter. All sorts. There are entire churches that are based upon understanding of this chapter. But I want you to know one thing. At the end of all of the doctrines that are built around everything that comes out in this chapter, Jesus will be king, he will be sitting on the throne, and he will be reigning alone. Don't hang up on everything else. He's going to talk about then. I have no idea when then is. He's going to talk about at that time. He's going to talk about time. So I know at that time is not the end, because in the end there is no time. He'll talk about that. He's going to talk about physical end time. There's something that's going to happen physically in the world that he's going to give them signs for. He's going to tell pregnant women to run to the caves outside Jerusalem. There is a concreteness that comes through part of this time that is a reality for them in the physical, tangible, chronological world. He's going to introduce all that in Matthew 24. But he's also going to talk about the end of time, where there won't be any time. And you don't worry about being pregnant when Jesus comes. When Jesus comes, it won't matter whether you're pregnant or not. When the Romans come to destroy Jerusalem, it's going to make a difference, and you're going to need to run, and you're going to need to take care of yourself. But when Jesus comes again, you don't need to worry about that. One day, he's coming. And we can have all sorts of questions and confusion about many of the small things in this chapter. But the large things at the end are not confusing. When time shall be no more, Jesus will be. His word will be enduring, and the elect will be with him. So the question this morning is, are you getting ready? And the answer is from Jesus. Don't be getting ready. Be ready. Be ready. Don't be getting ready. If you're not ready for Jesus to split the air open with the trumpet of God right now, get ready. But Matthew 24 is the admonition to be ready. Here's how the chapter starts. Jesus had just said, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her. How often I long to gather you together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were unwilling." At the end of 23, he says, "Jerusalem, I want to save you. I want to redeem you." But then he walks outside, and here's how Matthew 24 starts. Jesus came out from the temple and was going away when his disciples came up to point out the temple buildings to him. It was one of the wonders of the world. People would travel to see the temple of Jerusalem in Jesus' day. It was an amazing structure. The disciples had been there with Jesus before. I wonder why they hadn't asked this question before. Jesus has gone into the temple and has driven out the money changers. Jesus has gone in with authority and has put the religious leaders in their place, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Herodians. He's put everyone in their compartment. He has proven that he has authority, that he is in charge. And his disciples suddenly come outside and look around. And I'm wondering if they're wondering, wonder where my office is going to be. Wonder if I'll have a room in the temple. Jesus is king, prophet, priest. And I never looked at those facilities as a place that I might have a place. They've asked to be on his right and on his left when he comes in his kingdom. Surely they're looking at the physical structures. Wonder where Jesus is going to sit. And they come outside and say, look at these wonderful buildings, Jesus. Jesus immediately tells us. And he said to them, do you not see all these things? Truly I say to you, not one stone will be left on another. Boy, it was an amazing temple, amazing structure. Not one stone is going to be left on top of the other. Guys, this isn't it. We're having a regime change this week. The regime change in Jesus' week is very simple. We're moving to a point in history that has never been seen before. I'm not talking about this week. I'm talking about that week in Matthew chapter 24, where Jesus is letting them know things are never going to be the same. Since the days of Eve, people have been looking for the cross. Since the time of Abraham and David, people have been looking for the cross. I've been setting my face toward Jerusalem. I've been telling you that I was going to come and that they were going to kill me here. I'm not ever coming here again. I'm going to die here now. This is the week. This is the time. They're about to take my life away from me. I'm going to die right here, right now. And we are moving to a point in history where you and I live in the last days. There'll never be another era after ours. That era started at the cross and Pentecost. The last days were ushered in. No more are we looking for a Messiah. Messiah has come. No longer are we looking for the church, seeing the kingdom. The kingdom is, it exists. It is the people of God. It is the elect that are there. And we don't need to go outside in Jerusalem and say, I wonder if they need help rebuilding the temple. If politically you've asked that question this week for us, don't ask that question anymore. I don't think Jesus wants to reign in Jerusalem, but if he does, he doesn't need the United States' help to do that. You understand that? He doesn't need your help. If he wants to sit on the temple in Jerusalem, he will do it on his own, by his own might and his own power. I don't think that's what Matthew 24 is going to lead us to. But he doesn't need the armies of the United States helping out in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, he reminds us. Look at the questions that are asked him. They go about a quarter mile east, up on the Mount of Olives, across the Kidron Valley. And Jesus comes up on the Mount of Olives and sits down. And from there, you have a good view of the temple. You can turn around and look back at all of these buildings that they had just asked about. All the disciples come up. He was sitting, in verse 3, on the Mount of Olives. The disciples came to him privately, saying, tell us, when will these things happen? What will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? They ask him one question. One question is all they ask him. They cannot imagine Jerusalem without the temple in it. He has told them there won't be one stone left upon another. And they say, when will these things happen? Because if the temple doesn't stand, then there is no more time and your reign is. That's the only way they can process that. It's the only way we would process it if we lived there then. But Jesus is going to answer all three questions. Isn't it amazing? It's sort of like Byron was talking about trying to get the shepherd's prayer started. It's our minds can go everywhere. We can ask Jesus one thing, and he gives us 5 answers. They're all there. They ask him one question. When is the temple going to be destroyed? That'll be the end of time. Then we'll know you're reigning. He's going to give them a lot of different information. They're not all the same thing to Jesus. The temple's falling apart, not the same as the sign of his coming, or when the present age will end. Something else going on. Here's what Jesus says, verse 4. Jesus answered and said to them, see to it that no one misleads you. I'm going to give you some information. I just don't want y'all to be misled. Many will come in my name saying, I am the Christ, will mislead many. You will be hearing of wars and rumors of wars. See that you do not be frightened, for those things must take place, but that's not yet the end. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and in various places there will be famines and earthquakes, but all these things are merely the birth pangs, the beginning of birth pangs. That's all those things are. Wars and rumors of wars. We're at war. Rumors of war. Earthquakes. Cyclones, typhoons, tornadoes. Situation normal. Jesus says, just situation normal. Preachers stand and preach and talk about the fall of Iran and get Jesus off in the throne and God in charge of the world. All Jesus says is, there's going to be wars and rumors of wars. Don't hang up on that. That's not the end. That's not the thing. Verse 9. Then they will deliver you. I think he's talking to those disciples that are right there. I don't think he's talking to all of us. It may include me. It's prophecy, right? It is a prophetic word. But it definitely includes them. Then, in that time, they will deliver you to tribulation and will kill you, and you will be hated by all the nations because of my name. At that time, many will fall away and will betray one another and hate one another. Many false prophets will arise and will mislead many. Because lawlessness is increased, most people's love will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end, he will be saved. This gospel of the kingdom shall be proclaimed in the whole world as a testimony to all the nations, and then the end will come. Oh, just hang your hat on a few things there. Whatever else he says, the one who endures to the end will be saved. Endure. I don't know what you're going to have to endure. I don't know what endurance is going to look like, how long it's going to last. Some people call something tribulation. Others call it just a test. I don't know what you're going to go through. I don't know what your life's going to be like. Jesus knows what they're going to go through. But he says, endure to the end, you'll be saved. This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached to the whole world as a testimony to all the nations. And then the end will come. If we want Jesus to come, we've got to preach the gospel to everyone. That's not what he's saying. Maybe we take it this way. Hey, let's stop preaching. If no one else hears about Jesus, then the end won't ever come. We won't have to worry about it. It can't come. Jesus made us that promise. All we have to do is make sure we don't tell everybody. That's not the sermon, by the way. He says, tell everybody. He's just saying that we're going to spread the gospel through the whole world. It's the gospel that the kingdom exists, that the kingdom is at hand, that this week is true, that Jesus is going to die for your sins. This is the good message that's going to go. Tell everybody. But then he tells them in 15, therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation, which was spoken through Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Then those who are in Judea must flee to the mountains. Whole lot of stuff going on. We've got Daniel 7 going on. We've got the abomination of desolation going on. We think about Antiochus Epiphanes sacrificing a pig on the altar. We think about the Romans as pagans coming into the temple court and decimating the things of God. Jesus is looking his disciples eye to eye and saying, there is a time when people need to be alert and run. He says in verse 16, then those who are in Judea must flee to the mountains. Whoever is on the housetop must not go down to get the things out of their own house. Whoever is in the field must not go back to get his cloak. Woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing babes in those days. Pray that your flight will not be in the winter or on a Sabbath. For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not occurred since the beginning of the world until now, nor ever will, unless those days had been shortened. Wait a minute. Now I've got future days being cut short. It's not the end. When the end comes, there won't be other days to cut short. There'll be no more days. So something's going to happen in the future in which days are going to be cut short and in which people physically are going to be pursuing their personal health. So if you're listening to Matthew 24 in light of that, it's okay. He's given them some information. And I guarantee you, when the Romans start to conquer in AD 70, just 40 years from now, Matthew 24, when the temple starts to go down and these wonderful buildings are being destroyed and not one stone is left on the other, he's saying, if you're wise in Judea, you'll be flee into the mountains. Go hide yourself. Get out of here. Run. You can run from that. You need to run from that. If Texas is ever overrun by another power, and I see that I can help myself by running, I'm going to do it, just so you know. I'm not going to be the last one at the Alamo. I'm going to, 190 years. I'm not going to be that guy, right? Love Texas. I love the kingdom more. If I can preach to whoever's coming up the road, I'll preach to them. I'll give them the good news. Jesus said y'all were coming. Welcome in. That would be a bad sermon. But I might preach it anyway. Maybe if I didn't go preach to them, they were going to come here so I can preach to them. Patriotism and Christianity are not identical. Be sure to hear that. I'm a great American. I love Texas. I'll live here because I want to live here. Don't mishear what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with the coming of the kingdom. I live in the kingdom. I am alive, whether I speak Chinese or Spanish, whatever language Texans have to learn next. And there's never been a state that didn't have to learn a new language. Ever. Ever. Whatever language we have to learn next, we'll preach about Jesus in that language. Because Jesus is not going anywhere. Jesus will be the same. The kingdom is here before they ever come. The kingdom will be here when everyone is gone. Well, look what he says. He continues on in verse 20. But pray that your flight will not be in the winter or on Sabbath, for then there will be a great tribulation such as has not occurred since the beginning of the world until now, nor ever will. Unless those days had been shortened, no life would have been saved. But for the sake of the elect, for the sake of the elect, whoever you are in this story, be sure that you are the elect. Jesus is electing you. He's telling you the kingdom is here. He's telling you he's dying for you. That is your elect. Those days were cut short.
Therefore, if anyone says to you in verse 23, behold, here is the Christ, or there he is, do not believe him. For false Christ and false prophets will arise and will show you many signs and wonders so as to mislead you, if possible, even the elect. They're going to try to mislead the church, mislead the chosen. Behold, I have told you in advance. Here's your pre-word, disciples. Don't buy that. So if they say to you, behold, he is in the wilderness, do not go out. Or, behold, he is in the inner rooms, do not believe them. Here's your verse. For just as the lightning comes from the east and flashes even to the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man be. No one, go back a slide, Peter. We're not near done. He's trying to finish my sermon for me. Back up, Peter. Back up, Peter. Oh, there it is. No one will miss the coming of the Son of Man. Don't worry about it. You're not going to miss it. As the lightning comes from the east and goes all the way a sky to the west, all the way across the sky to the west, no one is going to miss the coming of the Son of Man. Don't think that accidentally somehow someone's going to get it and you're not going to get it. No one's going to miss it. It'll be like lightning in the sky. He says, don't believe them when they say he's over here, he's over there. Rumors of war, this is going on here. Destruction of that, run and hide. None of that's going to matter when the lightning flashes. Then we take away all those variables, all those things that your brother-in-law likes to talk about at Thanksgiving dinner. Let him talk, it's okay, it doesn't hurt you any. You just tell him this, well, the preacher said at the end, Jesus will still be there. He'll say, you know, you're right. And whatever your mother-in-law believes about the end of time, well, the preacher said that when we get there, Jesus will be there. Well, you know, he's right. The other stuff doesn't matter. It's not the main thing. As the lightning comes from the east and flashes even to the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man be. Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. There's your verse. Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. I don't know if he's talking out of Job and he's talking about eagles. I don't know if he's talking out of Ezekiel 37 and he's talking about the end feast where the judgment of God is eating up the sinners. I think he just says, if you want to find a dead body, look for the buzzards. I think that's really all he's saying. He says, I've got a sign of lightning. You're not going to miss it. If you need to find something definitive, if there's a dead body somewhere, look for the buzzards. You'll find them. That's where the vultures are going to be. Here's you another very plain and obvious sign. Everybody wants signs. If you want to find something, look for the buzzards. Then he says in verse 29, immediately after the tribulation of those days, there are those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of heavens will be shaken. We've entered into a heavenly kingdom which cannot be shaken, according to what Hebrews 11 and 12 tell us. And the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky. Be sure to read that carefully. The sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky. I don't think it's a sign saying, here is the Son of Man. I think it's the Son of Man as a sign. When you read the rest of the verse, he's not talking about some marker I'm supposed to identify to say, oh, Jesus is coming. No, he's saying, when the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of the sky with power and great glory. And he will send forth his angels with a great trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from the four winds, from the end of the sky, one end of the sky to the other. Good news? Amen. Great news. Everybody's scared to death of Jesus coming again. It's the best thing can happen to a Christian. It is the Maranatha. It is Lord, come quickly. It is Jesus is on time. He's coming to save his elect. He's taking us out of here. We don't have to worry about this mess anymore. So don't lose your faith when people are upset about the second coming of Jesus. Be ready, but don't be fearful. Be ready, but don't be fearful. Now, learn the parable of the fig tree. Verse 32, we get another sign. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth its leaves, you know that summer is near. All right, I got lightning, I've got buzzards, and I've got fig trees. 3 definite signs, good signs, no problem. I know when it's nearly summer. Yesterday the wind was blowing at my house. You know how I could tell? All the elm trees that have a little bit of leaves on them already are just blowing around like I'll get out. I know it's nearly spring. I figure they'll all get bit once, but they're hanging in there right now, right? I know it's almost spring. That's what Jesus is just saying. He says, y'all know this stuff already. When you see a fig tree there, you know that. So too, in verse 33, when you see all these things, recognize that he is near, right at the door. He is near, right at the door. Who is he? I don't know. Is it the Roman emperor? Maybe. Is it the falling in the temple? Maybe. Is it Jesus? Maybe. I like to think it's Jesus, that he is near, right at the door. Truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. This generation. In Matthew chapter 24, these folks are about to witness the crucifixion and Pentecost. This generation is going to see the coming of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. This generation, 40 years from now, this generation is going to see the destruction of Jerusalem. The temple is going to fall down. This generation is going to take that down. If you're 20 years old, you're going to be 60 when the temple falls. This generation. There'll never be another generation. This is the last generation. This is the generation of the last days. This is the generation that you and I live in. It is the only generation that's going to be. There won't be any other generation. Don't get hung up on time again. If you want it to apply to Pentecost, apply it. If you want it to apply to the destruction of Jerusalem, apply it. If you want to be the generation that is in the generation of the last days, apply it. Don't get lost in the generation. Time is too relative. We don't know enough. He does say, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. What he's telling us, his witness, his declaration, will always be there. Will Jesus coming as the King of Kings and Lord of Lords always be true? It will always be true. His word will never fail. But of that day, be sure and hear verse 36. But of that day, we had then, those days, at that time, but of that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son of Man, but the Father alone. Jesus preaches an entire chapter answering them, when will these things take place and what will the sign be of your coming? And Jesus says, I don't know. Wait a minute, you don't know? No, I don't know. And we're going to get all head up in the chapter and try to figure everything in the world out. And Jesus says, I don't know. The angels don't know. The Son doesn't know. Only the Father knows of that day. When that day comes, the very end of time. I can tell you about the destruction of Jerusalem. Jesus got it nailed. He knows it. He knows that better than I do through this passage. He knows about the climactic aspects of Pentecost and the cross and the resurrection. He knows about the stomping on the head of the evil one and how Satan is about to go down and he's no longer going to be the prince of the power of the air, but Jesus is ushering in the kingdom that is above all kingdoms, that at the name of Jesus every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. On that day, just don't know when that's going to be. I'm not going to give you any signs for that day. I can't give you a sign for something I don't know. Jesus says, I can't give you a sign for something I don't know. So don't let anyone build a doctrine about the second coming of Christ, the parousia, when he arrives again and is revealed once more. Don't let anyone tell you they know anything about that when Jesus just said, on that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but the Father alone. The coming of the Son of Man will be just like in the days of Noah. Oh, we got another metaphor, another illustration, historical reference. In those days, before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark. For 100 years, Noah's been preaching, it's going to rain. It's going to rain. It's going to be a flood. Everybody's still getting married and having babies. It's going to rain. And it starts to rain. Oh, they're just living normal life. Situation normal. For as in those days, verse 38, before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark. And they did not understand until the flood came and took them all away. So will be the coming of the Son of Man. Someone's going to say, aren't you a preacher? Don't you understand? And I say, no, I do not understand. He says, they did not understand. I will not understand. God says he's the only one that knows when Jesus is coming. I'm not supposed to find the signs. I'm not supposed to discern anything. I'm not supposed to worry about it. They won't understand. I don't understand. It's okay. Situation normal. Verse 40. Then there will be two men in the field. One will be taken and one will be left. Two women will be grinding at the mill. One will be taken and the one will be left. Not sure what to tell you about that, except that we're fixing to find the elect extracted. I don't believe in rapture terms, but the elect are going to be collected. One's going to be taken and one's going to be left. I don't think they're left forever, but that's next week's sermon. Be sure and show up. Verse 41. Two women will be grinding at the mill. One will be taken, one will be left. 42. Therefore, be on the alert, for you do not know which day your Lord is coming. Be on the alert. Warning of things known. Jesus tells them about stuff. Temple's going to fall. Tribulation's going to come. Difficulties for you. Run and hide. Things that only the Father knows. Be sure and read that last one. Warning about things that only the Father knows. Just because Jesus doesn't know it doesn't mean that God's not in control, that the Father's not got it in his hand. It's just the timing, the position, the perspective. The Father knows. If the Father knows, is that okay with you? It's okay with me. Does God know when Jesus is coming? It's coming. Could it be today? Absolutely. Be on the alert. That's why he's telling this whole sermon, verse 42. Therefore, be on the alert, for you do not know which day your Lord is coming. But be sure of this, that if the head of the house had known at what time of the night the thief was coming, he would have been on the alert and would not have allowed his house to be broken into. Another illustration. For this reason, you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour when you do not think he will. Not be getting ready. You must be ready. You don't know when he's coming. You must be ready. He's been promising. He knows that the end is near. You must be ready. Final illustrations. Who then is the faithful and sensible slave whom the master put in charge of his household to give them their food at the proper time? Blessed is that slave whom his master finds so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you that he will put him in charge of all his possessions. But if that evil slave says in his heart, my master is not coming for a long time, and begins to beat his fellow slaves and eat and drink with drunkards, the master of that slave will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour which he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. What I know is God knows. What I know is Jesus is coming. What I know is that Jesus says, I can be ready. Just in case some of you aren't back next week, I want to remind you of John 5, that we have passed out of death into life and do not come into judgment. No Christian will be under judgment at judgment. You can work on that all week and argue with me next, it's fine. But no Christian will be under judgment at judgment. We'll be at judgment, not under it. We'll be at judgment, but we're not going to be under judgment. For we have passed out of death into life, do not come into judgment. So next week, we're going to talk about the judgment. We're going to talk about these things, these end times. But Jesus' whole sermon today was, I'm coming back, be ready. And the only question that I have for you today is, are you? And if you are, what a great day. What a great day. Byron, I've lost the song. When the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. Will you? I'll be there. Will you be there? If you don't know, then you're not ready. Get ready. Jesus is King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and we're living in the last days, and they're ushered in with the power of the cross. And all the things that Pat told us are true about being broken and needing to bring our life to Christ. He accepts your brokenness and puts you back together. He says, you're useless the way you are, and I'll make you useful. But don't think that you're going to hear some preacher sometime tell you, oh, I saw some signs. The end is Thursday. Y'all get ready. It's not doing that. The preacher needs to stand up and say, I don't know when I'm coming. I don't know when Jesus is on the way. Be ready. Be ready. If you are, rejoice. Your name is in the roll that's about to be called. If you need to write your name there, you don't actually get to do that. God will write your name in the roll that's called up yonder. When you come to him to become his child, he writes all his kids' names down in the book of life. And he'll call your name when the roll is called up yonder. Don't get ready unless you need to today. Come as together we stand and sing.